Hey there, how you doing? Oh, I think you made. Oh, now you're unmuted. Okay, perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, hello, Facebook. My name is Stephanie Haines. I'm a reporter with TMJ4. And Patrick, I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Pat Cafferty. I am a criminal defense attorney based in Racine, Wisconsin.
Okay, and so Patrick has been really helpful to us the past week and will be for the next couple of weeks. He's going to be our legal analyst here at Team J4 for the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. I just sat down in the media room. I had the chance to get inside the courtroom this morning. It's a lottery system. They pick a couple of media. It's 6 seats today. It's going to change later on. So I got to see the process of jury selection. They are breaking for lunch back at 1:15. And so far, there's been a lot to take in. First of all, there is a lot of explaining to do that the judge does to the juror pool who's in the room. There were 34 jurors in the box, or the well, he says. So that's right up in the front of the courtroom. And then there were 70 to 80 more back in the benches of the courtroom. And so by my count, it seems 19 or 20 jurors have been dismissed. And about half of those were because of their opinion or bias because of the case. But I'm trying to update Pat here really quick. I don't know if you were watching it all, Pat.
Almost none of it. I'm still practicing law.
Yeah, he's got his real day job to do here. So we're gonna probably go through the whole afternoon. I mean, that took 3 hours. They were a little late to start. The judge also, a lot of people were asking about this on Twitter. He started playing Jeopardy as they were trying to get the whole pool in the courtroom, and I think it was just an icebreaker or such, but that was kind of funny. He asked some funny questions, and some people were really into it. Have you seen him do that before?
I have seen him do that many times. That's part of the way that he keeps the jurors entertained. Yeah.
It was funny. We were all wondering, we're like, where's this coming from? But since you've had him as a judge for many years, that is interesting that you're like, I have seen him do this before. So then the first couple of questions they ask, do you have any major conflicts? And so some people said they don't even live in Kenosha County anymore, and so they were automatically dismissed. And then there were some people who had other conflicts, but a majority of the second half in the morning was due to what people have seen or heard in the media about this case, and if they can set that aside for the evidence at hand. And when you have been in trials, how important is that question? How long does that usually take?
So my first observation, the little bit that I did see on YouTube, tells me that Judge Schrader is acting consistently with every other trial that I've seen him in. He's confident in himself, and he is handling this the same way he would whether there was a camera in the courtroom or not. So beyond that, as far as the length of the voir dire, I don't know that makes a big difference. Obviously, it's a more complicated case than the average case, so I do think it'll take longer. I think the judge had indicated he wanted to get this done today. I'm not sure if that's going to happen given the pace of things thus far. I'm not surprised that they have eliminated 20 or so people already. I think that will continue throughout the day. People will be eliminated for various reasons. And then once we get to the part where the lawyers are asking more directed questions, that process may become more heated, and the pace of it may increase.
Wow. Okay. That's another big thing. We haven't even heard the lawyers ask any questions. It's all been the judge so far. So that's something we could look forward to either this afternoon or maybe even tomorrow. Interesting that you say the pace seems like we might not get it done today, because I have heard that was it's often a goal, or sometimes a goal, to just try to get a jury within one day or a morning or such. Yeah, so now they're on a lunch break. They're not supposed to talk about the case. Did you catch any of the reasons why people said that they couldn't set their opinion or bias or their concerns aside?
I only caught a little bit of that. It sounded like there were some people who were claiming that their opinion was so cemented that they couldn't be fair. And judges are sensitive to that. I mean, I'm not going to point out an individual juror who's making it clear that they don't want to be on the panel, but there are some people who show up and they simply don't want to dedicate 2 weeks of their life. So they will sometimes say things that are designed to get them out of jury duty. I've had people, friends of mine, call me or text me and say, "Hey, how do I get out of jury duty?" I always encourage them, "Hey, the system needs people like you. Please don't do that. Please don't claim that you're biased or whatever it may be to get out of it." Some people just can't resist the temptation, and they'll make those claims. Now, some of these folks may be sincere when they say that they can't be fair, or that they have had access to information that has made them so biased that they won't listen to the evidence.
Yeah, and to your point, Judge Schrader brought that up quite a bit. He spoke at length about the history of where juries come from Rome. He
Hmm.
spoke about the Constitution, just how this is in the court of law. Everybody deserves a fair trial, and we hear evidence from both sides, and this is how it's done. And he was very. He also likened it. Maybe that's not the right term, but he did bring up how that he was in law school in 1968, and many of his classmates, many of his friends were drafted, and he brought that up and saying, I saw people's lives drastically change because of something that they had to do. And so he kind of brought up, taxes, jury duty, and then the draft as just as it's a big part of being a citizen here in the United States.
And again, I think he's being very consistent with the way that he always handles his jury trials. He's a student of history. He likes to talk about the history of the Constitution, the history of the jury system, and he does view it as his job to educate potential jurors about that. That's what he's been doing today. And I've heard him say in the past that he believes that other than military service, jury service is probably the most significant thing that a citizen can do to participate in government directly. And I think that's true. I mean, for a lot of people, particularly here where they may be committed for 2 weeks, this would be a significant sacrifice. But as citizens, that's what's required of us. That's what makes the system work. And he has been appropriately grateful for the people who have showed up and are participating in this, and is always kind and polite to jurors, and thanks them for their service.
And he does press back on some of the people, because some people will say, I have an opinion, and to some extent in this form of phrase, I have an opinion and I can't be on the jury of this case. And he says, well, what do you mean you can't put that aside to consider the evidence, or will you be less fair or more fair than anybody else around you? And so it kind of like he's really pressing them on that, like, hey, this, I can't just let you go because you say this. In some cases, yes, but he's making sure, like, he's trying to get a real read on the people who are sitting there in front of him. What do you expect that we can hear now after he's gotten through sort of the opinions part? Does the judge will he have more questions, or will it go straight to the attorneys?
I didn't see what he ended on, but he may have
Okay.
more information that he's seeking from the jurors. But I think you're really going to get to the meat of this when the lawyers take over. The lawyers are skilled, and what they're going to be doing is attempting to ferret out people who are going to be biased against their case. The judge is very objective. He's looking for people who can serve, and isn't quite concerned necessarily about which direction they may be leaning. The lawyers are going to be very interested in that. They're going to be very concerned with that, and their questions will be designed to sort of force some of the potential jurors to disclose some of their biases. And if they can get the right people to say the right things, then they will move for those people to be struck.
And you mentioned you think the pace will pick up. What do you mean by that?
So you've seen some jurors be struck or excused, and then others take their place. There may be much more of that once the lawyers start to ask questions. If they can sort of force the potential jurors to disclose more information about themselves, the judge may have no choice but to strike some of them and replace them with other people from the pool.
Okay, interesting. So what's your guess? When do you think we'll have a jury then?
My guess would be sometime tomorrow morning. I may be wrong. It's possible this gets done today, but given what's happened so far, I'd say probably tomorrow morning.
And then do you think that if the jury is picked by tomorrow morning, can they get in both opening statements from both sides? All of Tuesday?
I think so.
You think? Okay.
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the likelihood is the evidence will begin Wednesday.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for Lunch Hour on Facebook. Thank you so much, Patrick. And we'll keep you updated on the rest of selection here this afternoon and throughout the week here on Facebook. So stick with us, and we're going to let you go right now. Thanks so much.
Great, Stephanie. Thank you.
Bye now.